साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, verse number 35. This is Sri Narada's instruction to Yudhishthira on Varnashrama. So we have been reading how he explained the duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, women. And then he spoke about those who are of mixed Varnas, Shankar Jati. And then he said that if one follows one's duty properly, then one will become free from attachment. So now in this last verse he speaks on this crucial issue of how to find what is one's jati. So there are two things, one is jati and one is varna. Jati is by birth. The word itself says Janmana Jati. And varna is by quality, character, nature. So therefore he says Yasya yallakshanam proktam Punsho varnabhivanjakam yada anyatra vidrishyeta tan tenaiva vinirdeshat. He says that whatever are the characteristics which are stated about a particular varna, if they are seen in a person who does not belong to that varna, that jati, then he should be considered that, he should be indicated by that, he should be called by that, means by the character which the person possesses, and not by the jati. So this issue is very confusing, because people, some say that it is by birth, others say that it is by quality, but actually the thing is that these are two separate things. And if you understand, then there is no confusion. That one is jati, and jati is by birth only, it cannot be by anything else. And varna is by the quality. So usually it is expected that both are same. Means if one is Brahmana by jati, then he is also Brahmana by varna. If somebody is Kshatriya by jati, he is also Kshatriya by varna. Means his nature, his character is also like a Kshatriya, the family in which he is born. So if that is the situation, then there is no problem. Then it is straightforward. Problem comes when one is born in one jati and the character is of another. So then how to know that? And especially at present, when jati has become ajati. So how to figure out what is one's status? So there is, of course, best will be if they can study the genes. They have some program. And from the genes you can figure out what is the character.
And you get stamps at birth.
The genes is also related with birth. So genes is also by janma. Right? You have your genes by janma. So let's see the commentary. So if you understand this, then there is no confusion, but it's a very controversial issue. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Kincha yassa punsho varnabhivyanjakam yal lakshnam varna brahmanadi jatim abhivyanjati yattacha samanyato vihitam eva samdamadikam नतु विशेषता विहितम संध्योपासनादिकम यदि अन्यत्र जात्यंतरे की दृश्येत तज्जात्यंतरमपि तेनैव ब्राह्मणादि शब्देनैव विनिर्देशेत. So he says that you have to know this, that yasya punsho, that a person, varnabhivanjakam yal lakshana, who has lakshana, the quality, character, which indicate a particular varna. Because varna is known by the character. Jati, you don't know. Jati is by birth. So varnayati iti varna, that which describes you, that is your nature. So varna abhivanjaka yallakshanam varnam brahmanadi jatim abhivanjati. So this indicates the jati. Yat tacha samanyato vihitam eva. So he says that if there is a difference like this, then that person will follow. He has the characteristics samdamadikam natu vishayasta vihitam. So for him it is prescribed that he follows those characters which he has, but not the specific one. Because earlier we studied that he described the Varna Vyanjaka characteristics as Samdama, Shaurya, Virya, Dev, Guru, Achyute, all this, Sudra, Shati, Sannati, Shaucham. And before that he has also described some special activities of these people. So this definition of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra he gave, that is by the character, and the others one were the activities which are prescribed for them to do. So he says that if it is found in another place, then he will follow this general nature of this Samdama, Shaucha, Santosa, etc., but not the special one which are prescribed for them. So therefore he says that Samdama Adhikam Samanyato Vihitam Eva Samdama Adhikam. The general ones which are prescribed for them, such as control of mind, control of senses, Natu Visheshato Vihitam Sandhya Upasana. But not the special ones such as doing Sandhya. So Brahmanas have to do that. So that yes. So Yacha Anyatra Jatiyantrapi Drishyet. So if this is seen in another's jati also, means the jati is say Shudra, but the person has the characteristics of a Brahmana, then he should be called by the word Brahmana. Brahmanadi, and then means Brahmanadi Tulya Adaram Lakshyati. So it is only that he has to be given respect like a Brahmana, not that he will perform the activities of a Brahmana.
So, this is like the 333.6.
And there he is actually, there he writes differently. This is the interesting thing. Sadhyo Savnaya Kalpate. Tam nama varte jivagare vartate ta.
Nama tuyante pustapaste.
Te jahus
Sajahur sasnurarya.
So there he differs with Jiva Goswami, but now he is saying actually what Jiva Goswami says.
Yeah, that's okay. Now I follow. Okay.
So there Vishwanath Chakravarti says that no, actually he becomes qualified to do yajna. So he is going literal with the word.
Because it doesn't really make sense if you say that the person who has the guna of a kshatriya, and then you say, but he can't fight. It's in the same way if you say that a person has the qualities of a brahmana, but he can't perform the functions of a brahmana.
Yeah, because he is not qualified for that. And the reason for that is because if he is born in a Sudra family, how will he do yajna? He has not studied that. These qualities.
Well, then the guna and karma are not being seen.
That's exactly what
I mean, that's
the dichotomy here. The general qualities are okay. He is well meant, controlled. He has nature. But how will he do yajna? Because he did not study the Vedas. He has not gone through Upnayana Sanskar.
well, there's Gaur-Keshava. So Gaur-Keshava Das. You know Gaur-Keshava.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, just take for one example. He went to South India. He studied with South Indian Brahmanas. They taught him this.
Well, unless I really see him how he does it, I cannot say.
Well, they've accepted him into their Samaj.
But I will not unless I really see how he pronounces the Vedas.
Okay. That I doubt. I don't think.
Because it's not as simple.
Well, I mean, there you're going to say that some people are good engineers and other people are not good engineers, but they're both engineers. They have a diploma. So in the same way, there can be the work of a Brahmin is very broad. It doesn't just mean performing like the sacrifice, but it includes, the Dvadasha karma, the Vajanam, Patnam, Dana, Pratik.
No, that's what he already described, that they are not allowed to do that. He says these are 6 duties: yajan, patan, dhan, pratigraha. He says a kshatriya can do this in an emergency situation, but even he should not take charity. He can teach and he can do yajna, but only in an emergency. And others should not do that. So he already spoke on this.
So what do you think?
Well, to me it makes sense. To me it makes sense what she is saying, because the thing is that now we have not seen people who actually can do proper yajna, or who can. How a Sudra, if he has not studied Veda, how will he be able to teach others?
But let's say for instance, we're doing Harinam Sankirtan. So in Harinam Sankirtan we automatically assume that you chant once is better than all the Vedas.
Yes.
So a person who's functioning as a Brahmin within the Hare Krishna movement, to use a broad term, that person let's say by reading the Harinam Sankirtan, the Yajna, he's doing yajanam, right?
He's not doing yajanam, he's not doing yajanam.
Well, if he's doing sankirtan with other people, so that other people are also...
Yeah, but yajan here does not mean that. It's in the varnashram sense, means he has to do Agnihotra, Vajpaya, all these yajnas.
Well, of course, I'm debating.
If
I'm
you're talking
trying
about-
to conceiving it from the point of view of ISKCON and Prabhupada
No,
and
no,
the
I
Gaudiya.
understand. But I'm saying that he will not be able to perform the regular varnashrama duties because he's not
As
trained in it.
prescribed.
Yeah, he's not trained in it. How can he do it? Tell me.
But can the varnashram concept be adjusted? In the sense that can the varnashram concept be adjusted? If you say this is Kali Yuga and the yajna was a past yugas, it was the Treta Yuga, right? That you have yajna. So in the Kali Yuga, then Nam Sankirtan is...
Yeah, so then why they have to do yajna? You gave that
Yes,
example.
exactly. That's what he says in 333.6 as well.
So then why, when you say Gaur Kesava example, if he's a Vaishnava, what is the need for him to do this?
Well, that's another...
He's actually,
I was just bringing him up.
he's going against his own dharma.
He's become a Ravan.
Whatever he has become, if he is a Vaishnava, and you yourself are saying that one who chants once he has done all these things, so now why instead of chanting he is going back to this?
Well, I'm asking, because in Vaishnavism, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ramananda says, Eo Vajra, and he says, Eshab Charo Avarnasram Dharma.
Right.
He says, Ekanta Oya Lo Krishna Kasharan. So that you give up Varnashram entirely. But what does it mean in the context of a normal life where you're participating in society?
So this giving up is, this is also explained. Giving up here means that you are not taking shelter of varnashram for your spiritual upliftment. That does not mean that you give up your activities. If you are in a part, unless you take Babaji Vesh, which means you give up, then you actually give up. But if you are still in the family life and you are part of the society, then you continue doing things. Because Krishna says, Yadya Dashati Shrestha Tattva Devitarajana. So you do that, but you know that I'm doing it because these are things which we do. But you don't do that because by doing this you are going to go to heaven or you will get spiritually uplifted or anything. Because you don't have Shraddha in them. Your Shraddha is in the name. So that is the meaning of giving up. So therefore Vaishnavas, you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita or here in Bhagavatam, they continued doing their varnashrama duties. But it was not that they were thinking that this varnashrama duties are going to make me something higher than what I am. It is only bhakti which will...
So we can dispense with all this kind of social organization type of thing and just...
No, if you are part of society, then you should not dispense with it. That's what I am saying. You continue doing it, but you don't have Shraddha in it. You do it because society, it is a social convention. And if you don't do it, then you will inspire others not to do it. And they are actually the Buddhi Vedam Janyed Jnana and Sangha. So then you will create Buddhi Veda in them. But they are not like you. So they should do it. And because you obviously, you may have people whom you influence, and if you stop doing it, then they will not do it. And then they will suffer because of that. So therefore this Varnashrama duties can be done in two ways. One is that you are actually having faith in Varnashrama, you are doing it. Other is that you don't have faith, that you do it just as a social convention.
So, I'm trying to, these things that I've been thinking about obviously. But for instance, in the West, where devotees are trying to find some kind of way of living, they're very, very difficult trying to create a society, a community of devotees in the West. And because it's very difficult to escape the all engulfing characteristic of Western society. But in anyway, I think I've interrupted and I've lost my train of thought, so you go ahead. So, I'm trying to think in terms of what Western devotees, how they can create a community, and how that community could be structured in such a way that they all play a role, and that they can, actually create
You see, first of all, they should not think that they are going to create varnashram.
No, I'm not thinking that way, I'm thinking just
But
community.
As a community, first of all, they must be all devotees. That is the devotee community, and then they can do their services, whatever it has to be done. Somebody is plowing the field, or somebody is working in the office, somebody is doing pujari work, somebody is doing cleaning work, somebody is working wherever, painting press or anything. They can do those duties according to their nature or inclination. There is no harm. But there is no thinking that he is a Brahmana, he is a Kshatriya, he is a Vaishya, he is a Sudra. That's not going to happen. This will be just Vaishnava, and as Vaishnava they can do anything.
So the model is egalitarian. The Vaishnavas really, in India, they always respected the Brahmins. For instance, in Bengal, I observed that all the Vaishnavas paid strict obeisances to the Goswamis. They're very, the Goswamis can have their place in the society.
It was actually all over India like that. Brahmana was always respected. Here it is become more, it is almost lost here. But some places, especially Bengal, Odisha, it is still there. But I know in villages when I lived, my own experience, they were Brahmanas, they didn't know anything. They did not even have sacred thread. But still people respected them just because they are Brahmanas by birth. They have nothing. No knowledge at all, completely illiterate, not even thread. I never saw them with thread or tilak or anything. They don't know any mantra or anything. At least there are some Brahmanas who know little bit. But these people, in my village, there were 2 houses of Brahmanas. I mean, our priest has to come to do anything from another village. Our village Brahmanas did not know anything, but still they were given respect, and if you have to feed the Brahmanas, then they were invited and they were given some dakshina.
There's a book by Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay called the Srikanta. And in one of the chapters he describes a wedding that takes place in the dome jati. So the domes are the burners of bodies, basically what they do. And they don't necessarily only do that, but they're outcasts, they're untouchable. So basically Brahmins won't even do anything for them. The Brahmins won't go to do their marriage even because they're untouchable. So within the Dome community there were some who were Brahmanas, who did the priest work and things like that. So what happened was that they were invited, but of course they didn't go, this Brahmin family. And then suddenly there was a whole argument in the Dome society because the priest from the girl's family and the priest from the groom's family couldn't agree on the mantra that they had to say.
No, this was always there.
So
this I have seen.
So these 2 priests from the Dome community, they come to Srikanta to ask him to tell the proper mantra. And so they says, Om, tumi biye korecho, Om, Ma Kali Jai, Om, something like this, and the other one is saying something, a variant on that. But it was very cool because you had the priest, the domes had their own priesthood, and they had to go to the Brahmin to get it corrected. Anyway, sorry.
This fighting between the Brahmanas from the girl side and the boy side, it was always there. Because obviously they both came from different villages and they might have studied different shakhas or whatever. And both had their ego. Because there is a whole community behind them. And they
exactly.
So they were just looking how to find fault in the other guy.
It's almost like yes, exactly.
So this I witnessed. This happened all the time. And the guy from the boy side always felt superior. And And therefore the guy from the girl side will always find fault in him to show his supremacy. So this was a big thing.
It was created tension in the families because if they don't agree, the marriage is not right, it's not going to happen.
No, there was no tension like this, but some arguments were there. Of course, one will rule the other because he has the authority. The boy side always has the authority. So other guys will just talk.
Even that.
But at least he will show his muscles and Brahminical muscles. So therefore he says that jati antaram api teneva brahmanadi shabdeneva vinirdeset. That he should be designated as Brahmana, and then he gives a meaning of this. Not that he should be called actually Brahmana, but Brahmanadi tulya adaram lakshitam. So that he is respected like that. He will be still called by whatever jati, whatever family he is born in that. But he can be respected. So just like Vidura, he was respected. But not that he was called Brahmana. And then he quotes this Nacha paradharmo bhayavaheti vachyam shamdamadinam paradharmatva bhavatiti bhava. So then he once says, well, Krishna says, swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavahe. So why this person from the lower jati is following the dharma of a higher jati or vice versa? So he says that these characteristics, samdam, etc., control of mind, control of senses, etc., these are not paradharma. These are common dharmas. There is no restriction on this, that you cannot control your mind and senses and you cannot be austere. These are for everybody. So, then probably the example of Shambhuka in Ramayana, which is very controversial, especially these days, all the Dalits speak of that. You know the story of Shambhuka?
No.
Lord Ramchandra was ruling. Then there was one Sudra whose name was Shambhuka. So he was doing tapasya. And he was hanging upside down from a tree. So Sudras are not supposed to do that. So because of
is
that,
anybody supposed to do that?
well, tapasya is various types of
The
tapasya.
Shudras you have to tell.
Brahma has to do that.
So because of that, since this was some discrepancy in the dharma, there was problem in the society. Some natural calamities were happening because of that. Because society in those days was very much tuned with the nature. So if one person does mistake, then other people suffer. Same story from Bhagavatam, that this Brahmana's sons were dying right after birth. So he went to Krishna and says, what is this you are ruling? That means there is something wrong. Why my sons are dying in front of me? So it used to happen in the olden days. If people were religious, then it will reflect in the whole society. So then this news was given to Lord Ramchandra. So Lord Ramchandra, he went, and what he did, that this guy was hanging, he just cut off his head. So this is a very big issue at present. Among the Dalits, they are so much against Ram. He says, what is this Ram? He's not God. And Ambedkar wrote on all this, and then all these followers of Ambedkar, they are heavily critical. They have written hundreds of books on these issues. How Hinduism is nonsense. And then of course now there are people, Hindus who have become Christians, they are writing, who have become Buddhists. things like controlling mind, etc., but not do the duties of another, because that will create problem. So now I read one more commentary, which is little more. This is Vanshidhari. This agrees with him, but he says little more. Vanshidhari is a staunch Brahmana, and in many of his commentaries, he has written pages and pages and pages just to prove that only Brahmana can be the Guru. This is one of his very strong points. Few commentaries I have seen. So here, whenever there is anything to do with jati or anything, then he writes very much. So yasya punsho varna bhivanjakam yallakshanam varnam brahmanadi jati ma bhivanjati yat tacha samanyata bhitam. This is all he is just repeating exactly what Vishwanath Chakravarti says. Sandhyopasadikam yadi anyatra jati arapi dishet tat jati antram api teneva brahmanadi sabdeneva vinirudeshayat ityartha. Brahmanadi tulyam adarameva lakshyati natu tatvena archanadikam iti. So he has added this one more word which was not there. He says that he has to be respected like a Brahmana, not that he is actually going to do worship as a Brahmana does in the temple like a priest, etc. So natu tatvena archanadikam iti. Nacha pardharmo bhayaveheti vachyam. So you cannot say that doing the duty of other is dangerous, so why you should be even doing this shamdama, etc. Shamdamadinam sarvavarnikatvena pardharmatva bhava. So here also he has added one more word, sarvavarnikatvena. And these qualities of controlling mind, controlling senses, being austere, etc., they are applicable to all varnas. So it is not pardharma. And then he quotes this: ahimsa satyam asteyam akama krodha lobhata bhuta priya hitatsa dharmo ayam sarvavarnika iti ekadashe Sri Krishna ukte. Krishna says in 11th canto that to be non-violent, to be truthful, not stealing, not having lust, anger, greed, and to do activities for the welfare of other living beings. He says this is the duty of all varnas. And of course specifically these are mentioned for the Brahmana. Atra visheshamaha. So he says here something more extra is to be said. Dehantram vina dharma sadrishyena api varnata yauchate sanata dvarna pujodvahadeshu sthita. Iti vartantri yukter amukhya kshatriyadi rupa brahmano cha mukhya brahman pujodvahadeshu nayujya. So he is quoting Vartantu. He says that when it is said that somebody who is in one jati and he has the dharma similar to another jati, so when it is said that he is also belonging to that jati, it says without taking birth in that jati, without changing his body, dehantram vina dharma sadrishyena api varnata ya uchyate. Just because of the similarity of the dharma, he is called to have that varna. So he says that is tadvarna puja udvahadeshu sthita. So he says that should